Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello all, what is going on and how y'all doing on this Thursday evening? This is the Club of the Man 1993 and this is the technically third take. I second guessed myself in the second take. But this is the third take of this review of Monday Night Raw. I got interrupted before because there was a bee in my house and my wife, of course, squealed and I want to make sure everything was okay because we do have 7 animals in the house, make sure nothing happened to them, and of course the puppy. So, I just gotta say something. You know what happens when you interrupt the man's YouTube videos? You know what happens whenever you also scare my family, most importantly, especially my wife and animals? Bees? You just made the list! If you're not on the list already, you're on the list again. Bees, you may have made the list again. And also, I think maybe I should put on, what was it going to be? I had something else I had in mind. Oh yeah, paper for getting in the way of blocking my list of Jericho sign. You just made the list. Yes, I am trying to pull out the list again and, do all the fancy stuff. Old time's sake, throwback, have fun. I don't know. But yes. People make the list. The list of Jericho needs to come back more often on the channel. But yes. Anyways, this is my review of Raw. The November 6th, 2023 edition of Raw took place in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. Just a little north, of course, of Philadelphia. And probably about 6 or 7 hours northeast of where I live, of course, as well. It was a fallout show from Crown Jewel. And we are now a little over 2 weeks away from the last pay-per-view of the year, Survivor Series. My overall thoughts, it was one of those episodes where I didn't hate what they did. I didn't hate what they set up. We got some fresh things, of course, to come. That was set up for Survivor Series, which surprisingly, with the way everything was panning out, mostly, of course, with the fact they just brought back general managers for Raw and SmackDown. And they were kind of teasing something recently with Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis. I really thought Survivor Series was going to be a little bit of a mixture with War Games and Raw versus SmackDown brand to brand. We don't like that, but I felt like they were going to maybe get something a little more interesting behind it. It looks like it's not going to be the case. Because we had 2 title matches made official for this show. All Raw talent. And the men's War Games match was announced as well. I don't think, though, they're done. I think there's going to be more people that's going to be added to that men's War Games match. And it looks like SmackDown is probably going to get the women's War Games match. We will talk about that, of course, when we get to the SmackDown review. Also, I do, hopefully in a couple days, do plan on trying to get my Survivor Series match card done, especially with it coming up quick. I don't know if I'll get a lot of views on it, though. But with it being towards the end of the year, and I'm still 48 subscribers away from 2,000, and I do understand that I am going to be... A lot of my Fridays and Saturdays for the rest of the year are booked. So I do know content may slow down a little bit. I don't want to do that, especially with how close I am to 2,000. If I wasn't so close to 2,000 subs, I wouldn't be quite as worried. But I may have to start getting myself in the mindset of like, I may not quite make it to 2,000 this year. May have to wait till the beginning of 2024. Well, January or February. Because January, I am going to be busy at the beginning of the year getting ready for my business trip. You go on every year to Vegas. So I will be gone for a week in Vegas in January like I usually am. But we'll see where I stand, around that time. But again, I'm going to try the best. But if something happens, I got to, take it easy on content. Like, I'm already looking at the week of Thanksgiving doing just my Survivor Series preview. Because I have 2 Thanksgivings to prepare for this year. There's one with my side of the family, and then the one with my wife's side of the family on Saturday. So it's going to get busy. So, again, I'm going to still try my best, but I'm not going to be upset if I don't get to 2,000 by the end of the year. I know I'll probably get close, but I may not. But that Survivor Series card especially, because of this being the last match card prediction I do for the year, I'm going to go a little more all out. I have 2 matches I'm going to predict. I know a lot of you guys are going to think I'm ridiculous, especially since one's going against what I preach, meaning that, well, both of them technically are, because it's more a thing of like, I'm not going to believe something's going to happen unless it actually does happen, but I'm going to predict it because I'm just that crazy. Again, I'm still in the mindset of like, okay, this person probably won't show up. But I'm not going to predict them to show up. I'll talk about it when I get to another match later on the show. But again, I'm just warning you right now, I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for, the matches I predict on my Survivor Series card. But it's me going all out and going a little out of the box and being a little crazy. So it's probably going to happen. But anyways, let's talk about this episode of Raw. Like I said, I didn't hate Raw. I do like that it set up a couple fresh matches, some fresh storylines and angles. Well, what's not fresh is stuff with the Judgment Day, of course, which again, this still makes absolutely no sense to me, inconsistent. It's just that some of this stuff, it's like, okay, it's decent, solid, not quite what I wanted. Well, not quite what I wanted, but not quite like, oh my gosh, I gotta see this match. Just like, that'll be a solid addition to the card, basically, type thing. It's also a bummer because it looks like my long-term prediction for the Women's Royal Rumble match is not going to happen. I have another theory now what's going to happen now with that Women's Rumble match. And I'll share it, of course, when I get to the Women's Battle Royale. Anyways, though, the show opened up with Seth Rollins, who's in a very grateful thank you mode. Wanted to thank Drew McIntyre for him not being the reason why he's 100% right now, but also because he's been a little bit better. And he also wants to thank Sami Zayn for helping him out of Damian Priest's cash-in attempt. But he invites Sami Zayn to come down. Sami comes out. He does not have the briefcase, and which we find out that Adam Pearce did make him return it. And which Sami claims that is what exactly happened. And of course, Rollins talks about how he's been thinking about how he can repay Sami for helping him. Sami cuts him off and says, I'm glad you appreciate it, but that's not why I did it. I did it because he's been fighting Judgment Day for months, and he's tired of them talking about how they claim they run Raw. And he not only wants to try to take the power away from Judgment Day, but he also knows that if Judgment Day would get the world title, they would basically be Bloodline 2.0. Which he did say Bloodline 2.0. Seth, of course, leads the crowd in his applause, and they appreciate that Sami always stands up for what he thinks is right no matter the odds. But sometimes people like him don't get what they deserve. Judgment Day, though, don't run Raw. Seth does. And as long as Seth's champ, that Money in the Bank contract isn't the only way to get a title shot. He knows the reason why Adam Pearce made Sami give him back the briefcase is because Seth went to see Pearce for the same reason. He wanted to thank Sami in person tonight. And he tells Sami he's got himself a world title shot All he has to do is say when. Sami, though, of course, is stunned and says he's thought long and hard, but he doesn't want to beat a champion who is compromised. And everyone knows that Seth isn't 100% right now. Seth's like, yo, cut the crap. Guys like them have been doing this for decades. And they're never 100%. But never being 100% doesn't stop them from giving 100%. So, basically, he says it again. All you have to say, Sami, is when do you want that title match? And at first thinking, are they going to do this at Survivor Series? But I'm like, it can't be, because both these guys are probably, well, I at least thought Sami at least was going to be in the men's War Games match. Sami, though, thinks it over and then says, let's do it tonight. So that sets up for the main event, which is a world title match with fresh opponents, Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn. Cool with me? Judgment Day are backstage hanging out. Damian Priest is pissed off that Adam Pearce gave Sami a title shot. JD McDonough tries to offer advice, but Priest berates him and doesn't want any of it. He even asks if he even paid for his Damian Priest shirt, which that leads me again to saying, once again, continue on to say, the Judgment Day has been booked that inconsistent that I don't consider them a threat. And again, this stuff with JD McDonough and Damian Priest has been inconsistent because the past 2 weeks, they made it seem like that Damian and JD are cool with each other. Or that everybody's cool with each other. But now all of a sudden, they're back to, no, we're still not cool with each other. But then Rhea tells Damian him Damian has it. And then Damian goes off with Finn Balor to handle some business. Which that business was, they took on the New Day. I guess it kind of set up from their match, whatever. They tried to trick or treat last week as the New Judgment Day, or whatever they call themselves. Match was decent. Of course, what was, nice to see for once is the tag is champions winning non-title matches clean. And yeah, so, well, they won this one in general. But anyways, Judgment Day do win with a coup de grace from Finn Balor on Xavier Woods. We also had footage of Jackie Redmond trying to attempt the Drew McIntyre. That made no sense. Trying to attempt to interview Drew McIntyre when he was leaving the arena earlier today, but he refused. I still think that Drew McIntyre heel turn is just around the corner. I still think he joins Judgment Day and kicks out Damian Priest. Spoiler alert. That's what I'm still thinking. But, of course, that loss to Seth did kind of set up that last hope, that thing of now what does he do? And there is a story with that. So, there's that. Anyways, we have footage. Oh, I did that right. So then we get to Akira Tozawa and Shinsuke Nakamura. They had a match. One second. We had Akira Tozawa and Shinsuke Nakamura having a match. This is where I kind of talk about something that I was predicting for what's it called? Survivor Series. So, hold on. Sorry about that, I heard something. Anyways, so there was this match with Akira Tozawa and Shinsuke Nakamura. First off, I am continuing to like what they're doing with Akira Tozawa. Again, he's basically the new R-Truth, which okay, I never really disliked Tozawa because I did for a while. I was annoyed with R-Truth. But I think it was like 2017 again, when he got into that storyline with Carmella, he really, like, his groove struck with me. And I'm seeing that with Akira Tozawa. You can tell Triple H definitely likes Tozawa. He's probably not going to be a champion. He probably won't win that many matches. But he's a pure low-card quality character, basically. He's not going to be a main eventer, but he is going to entertain. And the match was a typical, which I enjoyed, was the match where, oh my goodness, this underdog might actually get a win. Like, someone you don't expect to win might get a win over a guy who has a little more momentum behind him, like Shinsuke Nakamura. But of course, eventually Nakamura was able to get the victory, and we go from there. Now, I gotta address this really quick here, because one of my predictions is in fact going to include Shinsuke Nakamura in my Survivor Series card. I still am going to say this. I'm not going to believe CM Punk shows up at Survivor Series unless I see him, because the rumors are swirling again about him showing up. And of course, WWE has done a couple of things with Nakamura. Like, he's telling the story where he wants to fight like someone big, like a bigger name. And he's also had a few moments where he's done like a GTS or two, which we all know that's CM Punk's finisher. So, again, because I'm going all out, and I'm still not going to believe it until I see it, I am going to be predicting CM Punk versus Shinsuke Nakamura in my Survivor Series card. Now, I'm also still in this mindset where, like, if CM Punk never wrestles again, I'm not gonna complain. Yes, I still hate how things went down in AEW. Yes, I still agree that CM Punk had fault in what happened. But I still say this, and I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, so we're not going to talk about anything further after this. I still don't think CM Punk is as big of a cancer as everyone makes it seem like he is. I really don't. Yes, I can get why he can be hard to work with, but I also, again, understand why he does business the way he does it. But, again, he's someone who still has to, even though people will let go of things like him and Colt Cabana, I still think, again, he should have handled it differently. I understand why he's frustrated with it, but the way he handles it could be better. But, again, he ain't a cancer. CM Punk, though, going to WWE, although I think will make him a hypocrite, it's honestly the next best thing for him if he wants to stay in wrestling. Because a lot of these other companies like Impact, NWA, MLW, they come out and said they can't afford him. So WWE seem like they want to put, they will do what's best for business, putting personal feelings aside, are willing to work with CM Punk. But again, although he's in my predictions, I'm still not going to believe that he's going to show up in Chicago unless he actually does. That's one of the matches, of course, I'm going to put on my card predictions that I'm going to get a lot of heat for. But again, it's me going all out, trying to put something interesting up on my channel before the end of the year. But yeah, anyways, got that. Afterwards, then we get ready as Adam Pearce hypes up a fatal 4-way between The Miz, Bronson Reed, Ivar, and Ricochet for no contendership in a fatal 4-way for Gunther's Intercontinental title. And the winner will face Gunther at Survivor Series. We didn't see Seth Rollins backstage when Adam Pearce stops him to check and make sure he still wants to wrestle tonight. And Rollins is like, I'm born to run, boss. And then we have the fatal 4-way. Match was good. It had a very, very weird ending, though. So, the big men... So, they had both The Miz and Ricochet laid out on the mat. And both big men, Ivar and Bronson Reed, go up to the top rope to do their finishers. Ivar his moonsault, and Bronson Reed his tsunami. Well, what happened was Ivar went for the moonsault at the same time. Well, they did it at the same time. But Miz got out of the way, and then Bronson landed like face first to the mat. Where Ivar was able to hit the moonsault on Ricochet. However, and some people are saying that Ricochet may have been concussed in this match. But there seemed to be some confusion as Ivar and Miz each went for a double pin. And the referee was like, seemed like he hesitated, looked around. But at the last second for the 3 count, Ricochet kicked out, but the Miz still got Bronson pinned. And the Miz is your new not Intercontinental, the number 1 contender, and he's gonna fight Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship at Survivor Series. Well, first, after the match, though, Ivar got angry and attacked the Miz, and I guess apparently what happened was Ricochet was not supposed to kick out. It was supposed to end in a draw like that. And we were supposed to get Miz and Ivar one-on-one for the number 1 contendership next week. Which now they're still taking each other one-on-one, but there's no number 1 contendership, basically, because of this. I heard it was a botch, and they think it might have happened because Ricochet might have gotten concussed in the match. Now, The Miz and Gunther? Yeah. It's not horrible. I get the small story they're telling because it's safe to say right now that they're trying to make The Miz a babyface, which I will talk about it in my Miz turn alert. I'm not sure about that being a Survivor Series match though. Maybe a match on Raw. Survivor Series though? I'm not feeling that one for Survivor Series. But we'll talk more about The Miz turning face in my turn alert, because I got some things I do want to say about it. Backstage, we have Alpha Academy. Tozawa is apologizing that he didn't get the job done, but Gable's like, he had nothing to be sorry for. He told him to focus on his match for the NXT Heritage Cup tomorrow night, which I didn't get to see if he won it or not, but I'm assuming no. Maxine Dupree rolls up, and she's getting ready for her Battle Royale. Oh yeah, also forgot to say, after the match with Tozawa and Nakamura, Otis and Nakamura had a stare down. I guess they're having a match next week. We also got footage from earlier on the day of the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, who I guess are the only members remaining of the former stable that Roderick Strong was like the head of, managed by Malcolm Bivens, now Stokely Hathaway in AEW. But I guess they're still between the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, they're still called Diamond Mine. And they signed their Raw contracts earlier in the day. And then DIY roll up, they chat, and it's like, you know what? Why don't we just have a impromptu match? Okay, 2 babyface teams going at it. So we had DIY and the Creed brothers, which again was a good match. I am definitely, we'll talk about her later in the show, but I'm digging the 3 of them, the Creed brothers, Brutus and Julius, and Ivy Nile. She had a really good performance, I thought, in the Women's Battle Royale. She, I thought, was the star of that match. But we'll talk about that when we get to it later. The match was good. The only thing I didn't really like, though, was the finish. The finish was when the referee was distracted. Ludwig Kaiser runs in, hits an enziguri on Johnny Gargano. And then the Creed brothers, who seem to, not know to kind of protect him and keep them as baby faces, then does the electric chair, and then they do their finisher, which is called the Brutus Ball Doomsday device, and they pin DIY. I don't hate that the Creed brothers won. I'm not interested in seeing this feud with DIY and Imperium team. I'm sorry. Like, can we just do a different direction with Imperium? Like, again, why is Imperium still losing a lot of their matches? Again, I should have said, the Judgment Day shouldn't be the dominant stable on Raw. It should be Imperium. Heck, you're going to put Imperium inside War Games. Dang, that sounds so awesome. But they're teasing them breaking up, and I don't get it. I really, really don't get it. Gunther's awesome. But, I almost said their old names. Marcel Barthel, Fabian Eichner. Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci. You haven't even scratched the surface with them as a tag team yet. Like, they didn't even have them, like, they won the NXT tag titles twice. I think both runs were kind of pointless, but they didn't have a good story to them. But they didn't even win the UK titles when the NXT UK was a thing. So, I still don't get what they're doing with Imperium. Like, why are they having them continue this feud with DIY if Imperium's getting nothing out of it, you know? Like, have DIY, take on these other teams, build themselves up. They'll win the tag titles someday. Maybe at WrestleMania, who knows? But, yeah, again, but them still feud with Imperium, I don't get it. Backstage, Jay Uso and Sami get a pep talk. And then Jay says that he and Cody got a rematch for the tag titles next week. And maybe next week at this time, all three of them will be champs. I like this. I love this. Well, first I did it. Well, no, I'm sorry. I did, then I didn't, but I did. So Becky Lynch is being interviewed as she's getting ready for the Battle Royale for the number one contenders for the Women's World Championship. And the winner of that Battle Royale will face Rhea Ripley at Survivor Series. So Becky's being interviewed, but then of course Jackie Redmond's distracted and scared because behind her is Nia Jax. And Nia is like, I'm going to tell you to your face, nobody's going to eliminate me because everybody notices me. Nobody's going to eliminate me. I'm going to be happier than ever and I'll be happier than I ever was. This is that. But anyway, she brings up the fact that she broke Becky's nose. Becky, though, makes this segment so much better because it sucked when Nia Jax started talking. But then Becky fired back. And she fired back hard. She said, funny thing about that is, after you broke my nose, I went on to main event WrestleMania. And you went on to get fired. Oh! You just got burned! I love that line. I loved it, and I'm like, oh yeah! Like, again, there's some things that, really make you pop. That, other good zingers, like when LA Knight said suffer, when said, why you're out there saying suffer and succotash, and I'm like, oh yes! You feel so good whenever you hear that. Or the, let me talk to you, and yeah! All that jazz. But that felt good to hear. Then we had a couple other interviews for this Battle Royale. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven were interviewed. Chelsea saying they feel amazing. They actually feel they have a chance of winning. Where some of the women in the match are going to being given charity vibes in this match. Zoey and Shayna roll up, and Shayna says she's going to tear the first person she sees tonight limb from limb, and maybe that could be Chelsea. Piper then leaves her high and dry, and Zoey notes that goes for them as well. And then Shayna says, though, it's going to be her being the one with her hand raised. And then everybody makes their entrances. But when Becky comes out, here comes Xia Li, who still wants to go after Becky, even though she does not have the NXT Women's title. But apparently she's going to NXT, trying to get into the head of Lyra Valkyria. And it makes no sense. But anyways, Xia comes out from out of nowhere and hits that same spinning roundhouse kick that she hit on Candice LeRae last week that knocked her out. And she hits it on Becky. So Becky was not medically cleared to compete. And Xia Li was ejected from the match because of what she did. Which I like that we don't see that too often. We don't see people get punished like that. But again, Xia Li's storyline makes no sense. But the Battle Royal itself. First off, Nikki Cross was out there again. Just blankly staring into space. And she tried her damnedest, but barely gave any reaction whenever Nia and Raquel just like sandwiched her, standing on each other. But then I see, wait, what's this here? And they just tossed Nikki out. But she basically like stayed in character. And apparently she stayed at ringside and was staring down at the announcers for a little bit. They never showed her, but they did say she was at ringside. But then she eventually did leave. So, still don't know what Nikki's in the trance about, but I still love that. Of course, if Vince was still around, I'm pretty sure he would have had Nikki win the match by just standing there and doing nothing the entire time. Even though that would have made everybody else look stupid. Again, it literally would have been no different than Santino Marella winning in a Santina Marella and nobody even acknowledging the match. Or Lana winning the Survivor Series women's match in 2020 because she just stood there like a soldier on there because they told her don't get in the match and then everybody got counted out, which was stupid as well. But anyways, the match, you know, some people got, you know, some good highlight time in there as well. One person, again, like I said, who really, really stood out to me was Ivy Nile. They gave her, like, they kind of showcased her as a little bit of a powerhouse. Again, I know nothing about her because I didn't watch NXT when she first came in, but I was impressed. She looked really good. So, but eventually, though, she did get eliminated because Nia Jax was one with like 4 or 5 people left. Everybody teamed up and got rid of Nia Jax. Thank God. Nia got mad and yanked Ivy Nile off the apron. Lovely. Probably have a Nia Jax and Ivy Nile feud. Yay. Although that could be a way to help continue to show that Ivy Nile is like a powerhouse type woman, which, in that sense, whatever. I can live with that as long as Nia puts her over. Okay. Eventually, it came down to just Zoey Stark and Shayna Baszler on the apron. And Zoey Stark does win by last eliminating Shayna Baszler. So we're going to get Zoey Stark and Rhea Ripley at Survivor Series. Oh! Well, the match I don't hate. That will be a good match. But this is more, because I keep saying for months, my prediction was that Zoey Stark would be the one to win the Women's Rumble and go on to WrestleMania and dethrone Rhea Ripley. This just feels like it's like a showcase opportunity for Zoey on one-on-one on pay-per-view, but we know she's not going to win the match. And I'm like, dang it! So unless they do some type of angle, I think my prediction for Zoey Stark winning the Women's Rumble's dead. But I guess they're going to do Rhea and Becky now at Mania, which, yes, that's going to be a great match. My only problem, again, is the fact that Becky doesn't really need another title match at Mania again. She really doesn't. Right? Well, not right now, at least. I mean, she didn't have it last year. She was involved in that 6-woman tag with her, Lita, and Trish versus Damage Control. But I just still, again, as great as that match is going to be, I'd rather see that match happen at Rumble between Becky and Rhea. And have someone else be the one to dethrone Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Although, if they do Rhea and Becky, I don't think Becky's going to win. But I'm guessing now that we're going to do Rhea and Becky. And I still think at some point, even though we have this thing with EO going on, I'm still thinking the match they're going to do at at WrestleMania now is Charlotte Flair, who will be the Women's World Champion at that time. And I'm going to now throw in my prediction and say I think the person they're going to have to win the Women's Royal Rumble, even though she hasn't wrestled a single match yet in WWE, is Jade Cargill. Yeah, I think it'll be Jade Cargill who wins the Women's Royal Rumble. But, you know, I don't hate that again, but again, like, does Charlotte I don't see them leaving Charlotte out of WrestleMania. Again, the only WrestleMania she was left out of was WrestleMania 37, was because she got sick and the rest of the plans for her got thwarted because Lacey Evans got pregnant. But, I just want to see someone different. Okay, yes, Jade is someone different, but I don't know. It's just that the bummer that long-term prediction I had probably isn't as happening as a bummer. But again, the match will still be fine in Survivor Series. But again, it's going to be more so just Zoey getting a chance to get an opportunity to shine in the main event scene, but not get the win, unfortunately. She had a backstage segment with Rhea where she rolled up and said that Rhea's focus should be entirely on her. If it weren't for Nia Jax, she would have won the title of Crown Jewel. Rhea says she has a lot on her plate and she hasn't forgotten her, but she must have forgotten that she did defend her title Crown Jewel, or that slipped the mind when she had that avalanche riptide onto all those bodies. And Zoey says she's going to take the title off her at Survivor Series. Then we have the main event, Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins, which was a good match. Seth Rollins, of course, does win with a victory roll pin. Afterwards, of course, they shake hands. And then as Sami goes to leave, Judgment Day swarm. And then out comes Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes. And the fight breaks out, and basically it leads to Adam Pearce coming out and announcing War Games. So, at the time being, it looked like it's going to be Judgment Day plus JD McDonough, because he's still technically not in Judgment Day. You know, they act like he is at this point. But it's going to be Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough versus Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Seth Rollins in War Games. Which, there goes my prediction where I really, really thought they were going to do Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, and as in who's the better champion. But I guess it's true, Roman Reigns won't be at Survivor Series, which is getting kind of ridiculous. In fact, right now, for what it looks like none of the Bloodline is going to be on the card for Survivor Series. Well, with my predictions, at least. Because if they're not in War Games, what else are they going to do? You know? And again, the problem is, if you just do that match, because, once again, Judgment Day is not a viable threat. Again, they've been booked super inconsistent, so to me, they're not that big of a threat. What I think is going to make this match interesting is if they do a fifth member for each team. And I will still predict that maybe at first the baby faces do get Drew. But then Drew turns on them and joins Judgment Day, which eventually will set up for Drew McIntyre and the rest of Judgment Day to kick out Damian Priest. And I guess that would have to make the fifth member a surprise return for the babyfaces, Randy Orton. If Randy Orton is not in that match, then I will say, if the rumors are true about Randy Orton coming back at Survivor Series, and CM Punk does not show up, then I guess Shinsuke's opponent is probably going to be Randy Orton. But we'll see what happens. Again, the three matches aren't terrible. They're also going to be good, but it's just that, okay, Gunther and Miz. What's the story other than the fact that, you know, Miz is trying to prove that he's more than just a talk show host? which is the story is seemingly going with him becoming a babyface this time. Rhea and Zoey. A good match, but once again, I wanted to see Zoey win the Women's Rumble, and this feels like it's going to be more so like a showcase for Rhea in the main event. I mean, for Zoey in the main event, seems she's going to lose. And then the men's War Games match. Again, I'd be interested if the Judgment Day was booked better. But once again, the story can still be salvaged or made a little more interesting if a fifth member gets involved for each team. Will it happen? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, though. So that's basically it, guys. That's my thoughts on Raw. I talked a lot more than I thought I would. I gave the episode a B- because it was solid. It didn't... I'm not like, oh my god, I can't wait for Survivor Series. It's like, Survivor Series will be solid. As of now, I look at it as a card that's like, okay, it'll be fun to watch once, but the way it is now, it may just be one of those shows that will be good, but it won't be a show that I want to watch. I won't want to watch it more than once. But in the upcoming weeks, again, we'll see what happens. So that's my thoughts on Raw, guys. What are your guys' thoughts on this episode of Raw? Again, I gave it a B-. Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comments section below. And be sure, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter at TheClubOfTheMan93. And also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at TheClubOfTheMan1993. And until then, guys, check it out. I'll catch you guys all later. Have a great rest of your night. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!